My colleague sabotaged my promotion. Then I crafted my own success story that shocked everyone. I still remember the exact moment my world crumbled. The conference room smelled like stale coffee and broken dreams. I was presenting my marketing campaign to the executives, the one I'd worked on for 3 months. My hands were steady, my voice clear. Then Maris Voss raised her hand. Actually, she said with that fake sweet smile, I found some errors in these numbers. She clicked her laptop, and suddenly my data looked completely wrong on the big screen. The executives frowned. My heart stopped. I stared at the screen in shock. These weren't my numbers. Someone had changed them. The room fell silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. My boss, Mr. Chen, looked disappointed. Leora, we'll need to review this later. I wanted to scream that this wasn't my work, but the damage was done. Maris sat there looking concerned, like she was trying to help me. Inside, I knew exactly what had happened. She had sabotaged me. The promotion I'd dreamed about for 2 years was slipping away. My colleagues avoided eye contact. I felt completely alone in that room full of people. After the meeting, I cornered Mr. Chen in his office. My voice shook as I explained that someone had tampered with my presentation. He barely looked up from his computer. Leora, mistakes happen. Maybe you should double-check your work next time. His dismissive tone cut deep. I tried to explain again, but he waved me off. We'll discuss this during your next review. Walking back to my desk, I saw Maris chatting with other colleagues. She spotted me and smirked. Don't worry, Leora. I'm sure you'll get another chance someday. Her fake sympathy made my stomach turn. I sat at my desk, staring at my computer screen. 2 years of hard work, countless late nights, and this was my reward? My phone buzzed with a text from my mom asking about the presentation. I couldn't bear to tell her what happened. The office felt different now. People whispered when I walked by. Some looked at me with pity, others with doubt. Had I really made those mistakes? For a moment, I questioned myself. Then I remembered Maris's satisfied smile, and anger replaced my self-doubt. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the presentation in my mind. Something didn't add up. I grabbed my laptop and started checking everything. My original files were perfect. Someone had definitely switched them. I decided to start documenting everything. Every interaction with Maris, every suspicious moment, every time she undermined someone. I created a secret folder on my personal laptop and began writing down dates, times, and witnesses. The next morning, I watched Maris more carefully. She was smooth, I had to admit. She'd compliment someone to their face, then whisper doubts to others behind their back. She'd offer to help with projects, then somehow mess them up. She was a master manipulator. During lunch, I overheard her talking to Jake from accounting. Poor Leora, she said, shaking her head. I tried to warn her about those numbers, but she wouldn't listen. Some people just can't handle pressure. My hands clenched into fists. She was rewriting history, making herself the hero and me the failure. But now I was paying attention. Now I was taking notes. This wouldn't happen again. I needed someone to talk to, someone I could trust. Tamsin worked in HR and had been my best friend since college. We met for coffee after work at our usual spot downtown. She did what? Tamsin's eyes widened when I told her everything. Leora, that's not just unprofessional, it's sabotage. You need to report this. I stirred my latte nervously. But I can't prove it. It's my word against hers, and she's already painted me as incompetent. Tamsin leaned forward. Then we build a case. You're smart, talented, and hardworking. Maris is threatened by you, that's why she's doing this. But bullies like her always slip up eventually. Her confidence in me felt like a warm hug. For the first time since the presentation disaster, I felt hopeful. We spent the next hour planning. Tamsin would keep her ears open in HR, and I would continue documenting everything. Remember, she said as we parted ways, you're not a victim, you're a fighter, and fighters don't give up. Her words echoed in my mind as I walked home. Maybe this wasn't the end of my story. Maybe it was just the beginning of something better. 3 weeks later, an email landed in my inbox that changed everything. Henderson Corp., our sister company, was looking for a project manager for their new digital marketing initiative. The salary was better, the role more challenging, and best of all, it was far away from Maris. I stared at the job description. It was perfect for me. Everything I'd been working toward, everything I'd learned in my current role had prepared me for this opportunity. My heart raced with excitement, but doubt crept in. What if they checked with my current boss? What if Maris had already poisoned the well? I closed my laptop and took a deep breath. Tamsin's words came back to me. You're a fighter. That evening, I polished my resume and wrote a compelling cover letter. I highlighted my achievements from before the Sabotage incident, focusing on my successful campaigns and innovative ideas. I attached samples of my best work, making sure everything was perfect. Before hitting send, I hesitated. This felt like jumping off a cliff, but staying meant enduring more of Maris's games. I clicked submit and felt a surge of empowerment. For the first time in weeks, I was taking control of my future instead of reacting to someone else's cruelty. The interview went better than I dared hope. The hiring manager, Sarah Kim, was impressed by my portfolio and vision for digital marketing. We clicked immediately, discussing innovative strategies and future trends. Your ideas are exactly what we need, she said, smiling. When can you start? I tried to contain my excitement, negotiating a start date that would allow me to finish my current projects professionally. But Maris noticed my improved mood. She started hovering around my desk more, asking pointed questions about my work. When she saw me updating my LinkedIn profile, her eyes narrowed. Job hunting, Leora? She asked loud enough for others to hear. I guess some people just can't handle a little constructive criticism. Her tone was mocking, designed to embarrass me in front of our colleagues. I looked up calmly. I'm exploring opportunities for growth, Maris. That's what ambitious people do. My response surprised her. For months, I'd been quiet and defensive. Now I was standing up for myself. She walked away, but I could feel her plotting. Maris didn't like losing control, and my newfound confidence threatened her carefully constructed narrative about my incompetence. I knew she'd escalate her attacks, but I was ready. Maris's revenge came swiftly. She started spreading rumors that I was difficult to work with and unreliable. She told people I was job hunting because I couldn't handle my current responsibilities. During a team meeting, she questioned every suggestion I made. Are you sure about those numbers, Leora? She'd ask with fake concern. We don't want another presentation incident. Her comments were designed to undermine my credibility and remind everyone of my supposed failure. But something unexpected happened. My colleague James spoke up. Actually, Leora's analysis is spot on. I've been tracking similar trends. Others nodded in agreement. Slowly, I realized that not everyone believed Maris's version of events. After the meeting, James pulled me aside. Don't let her get to you, he whispered. Some of us know what really happened with that presentation. She's done this before to other people. His words hit me like lightning. Maris had a pattern. I wasn't her first victim, just her latest one. This revelation filled me with determination. If she'd done this to others, there had to be evidence. I just needed to find it. I spent the weekend developing a comprehensive proposal for my new role at Henderson Corp. It included innovative strategies for digital engagement, data-driven marketing approaches, and cost-effective campaign ideas. This was my chance to show what I could really do. The proposal was brilliant, even if I said so myself. I'd incorporated everything I'd learned about market trends, consumer behavior, and digital platforms. It was the kind of forward-thinking document that could transform a company's marketing approach. Monday morning, I submitted it to Sarah Kim. Her response was immediate and enthusiastic. This is exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need, she wrote back. I'm sharing this with the executive team. But Maris was watching. She'd noticed my confidence, my improved mood, and my secretive phone calls with Henderson Corp. During lunch, she cornered me in the break room. I hope you're not making promises you can't keep, she said sweetly. We both know how your last big presentation went. Her words were meant to shake my confidence, but they only strengthened my resolve. She was scared, and scared people make mistakes. That afternoon, something amazing happened. Lisa from the design team approached me cautiously. Can we talk privately? She asked, glancing around nervously. In the empty conference room, she opened up. Maris did the same thing to me last year. She sabotaged my project presentation and got the promotion I was supposed to get. I never said anything because I thought no one would believe me. My heart pounded. Do you have any proof? I asked hopefully. She shook her head sadly. I was too shocked to document anything. But when I saw what happened to you, I knew she was at it again. Lisa's story confirmed my suspicions. But more importantly, it showed me I wasn't alone. Over the next few days, other colleagues quietly shared their experiences. Tom from sales mentioned how Maris had accidentally sent his important client proposal to the wrong email. Rachel from PR described how Maris had given her incorrect information that almost cost them a major account. A pattern emerged. Maris targeted people she saw as threats, using subtle sabotage to eliminate competition. But now we were connecting the dots, building an invisible alliance of her victims. Knowledge was power, and we were gathering both. I realized that individual complaints wouldn't be enough. Maris was too careful, too subtle. But workplace toxicity was something companies took seriously these days. I drafted an anonymous letter to HR about the negative culture in our department. I didn't mention Maris by name, but I described the behaviors: manipulation, sabotage, bullying, disguised as helpfulness. I included specific examples without identifying victims, focusing on how these actions affected team morale and productivity. The letter was carefully worded to sound like it came from multiple concerned employees. I mentioned the fear people felt about speaking up, the way toxic behavior was allowed to continue, and how it was driving away talented staff. Within a week, HR announced a company-wide culture review. They sent out anonymous surveys asking about workplace experiences, team dynamics, and leadership effectiveness. I smiled when I saw Maris's worried expression as she filled out her survey. Change was coming. The invisible alliance I'd helped form was about to become very visible. Maris's reign of terror was nearing its end, and she could sense it. Her confident smirk was replaced by nervous glances and defensive postures. The hunter was becoming the hunted. My performance review with Mr. Chen was scheduled for the following week. I knew Maris would try to influence it, so I prepared meticulously. I gathered every email, every project report, every piece of evidence showing my actual performance versus her narrative. The night before the review, I organized everything chronologically. My real achievements were impressive. 3 successful campaigns, 2 client acquisitions, and consistently high performance ratings before the sabotage incident. The data told a clear story of competence undermined by manipulation. During the review, Mr. Chen started with the presentation incident. Your recent performance has been concerning, Leora. I took a deep breath and calmly presented my evidence. I showed him the original files, the timeline of events, and the pattern of sabotage. His expression changed as he reviewed the documentation. Why didn't you bring this to my attention sooner? He asked, looking uncomfortable. I explained how Maris had discredited me first, making it seem like I was making excuses. By the end of the meeting, Mr. Haskar Chen's tone had shifted completely. I'll be looking into this situation more thoroughly, he promised. I left his office feeling vindicated but cautious. Maris still had allies, and cornered animals were the most dangerous. Henderson Corp officially offered me the position. The salary was 30% higher than my current job, with better benefits and growth opportunities. It was everything I'd dreamed of, but accepting meant leaving behind the fight I'd started. I stared at the offer letter, torn between moving forward and seeing justice done. Tamsin called during my lunch break. Take the job, Leora, she advised. You've planted the seeds here. Let them grow while you flourish somewhere else. But part of me wanted to stay and finish what I'd started. Maris needed to face consequences for her actions. If I left now, would she just find another victim? The thought of someone else enduring what I'd been through made my stomach turn. That evening, I made my decision. I would take the Henderson Court position, but stay long enough to complete the culture review process. I owed it to my invisible alliance and to future victims who might not be as strong as me. I called Sarah Kim and negotiated a start date 6 weeks out, explaining that I wanted to finish my current projects professionally. She agreed, impressed by my integrity. Maris would have those 6 weeks to hang herself with her own rope. I accepted the Henderson Corp offer but kept it quiet for now. My improved mood was impossible to hide completely, though. I walked taller, smiled more, and stopped letting Maris's comments affect me. This change in my behavior clearly frustrated her. She escalated her sabotage attempts. She accidentally deleted important files from the shared drive. She scheduled conflicting meetings during my important presentations. She even tried to take credit for ideas I'd proposed in team meetings. But I was documenting everything now. Every email, every interaction, every witness to her behavior. My secret folder was growing thick with evidence. More importantly, other victims were starting to speak up, emboldened by the culture review process. During a team brainstorming session, Maris interrupted me mid-sentence to contradict my suggestion. "That won't work," she said dismissively. "We tried something similar last year and it failed." But James immediately corrected her, providing data that supported my idea. The room fell silent. Maris's face reddened as she realized she'd been caught in a lie. Her credibility was cracking, and everyone could see it. The invisible alliance was becoming visible, and she was outnumbered. Tamsin called me with exciting news. The HR investigation had uncovered some interesting information about Maris's employment history. She was let go from her previous company for interpersonal conflicts. Tamsin whispered over the phone. "Guess what that usually means?" My heart raced. This was the missing piece of the puzzle. If Maris had a history of workplace toxicity, it would support all our complaints. But we needed to be careful about how we use this information. I spent the weekend preparing a comprehensive report. I compiled all my documentation, organized testimonies from other victims, and created a timeline showing Maris's pattern of behavior. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. The report was professional, factual, and devastating. It showed how one person's toxic behavior had affected multiple employees, damaged team morale, and potentially cost the company talent and money. I made copies and prepared to submit it through proper channels. But first, I had one more presentation to give. The final project I'd been working on was due next week. It would be my last chance to show my true capabilities before leaving for Henderson Corp. More importantly, it would be Maris's last chance to sabotage me. I was ready for her. The final presentation was scheduled for Friday morning. I spent every spare moment perfecting it, anticipating every possible way Maris might try to undermine me. This time, I had backup files, printed copies, and even a recorded version ready to play if needed. My presentation showcased a revolutionary approach to customer engagement that could increase conversion rates by 40%. I tested the strategies on smaller campaigns and had concrete data to support every claim. It was my masterpiece. The night before the presentation, I couldn't sleep. This felt like the culmination of everything I'd been through. Win or lose, it would be my final statement at this company. I wanted it to be perfect. I arrived at the office early, triple-checking all my equipment and files. Maris was already there, hovering near my desk with that familiar fake smile. "Big day today, Leora," she said sweetly. "I hope everything goes smoothly." Her tone sent chills down my spine. She was planning something. I could feel it. But I was prepared for anything she might throw at me. This time, she wouldn't catch me off guard. This time, I would be ready for her games. The conference room filled with executives, department heads, and key team members. I could feel the tension in the air. Everyone knew about the previous presentation disaster and the ongoing culture review. This felt like more than just a project presentation. It felt like a judgment. Maris sat in the front row, her laptop open and ready. I noticed her exchanging glances with a few people in the room. She'd been working her network, trying to undermine my credibility before I even began. As I set up my presentation, she raised her hand. "Before we start," she announced, "I think everyone should know that there have been some concerns about the accuracy of Leora's data analysis recently." The room shifted uncomfortably. My heart pounded, but I remained calm. This was exactly what I'd expected. "Thank you for your concern, Maris," I replied professionally. "I've prepared extensive documentation to support every claim in today's presentation. I welcome any questions about my methodology." The executives looked intrigued rather than concerned. My confident response had diffused her preemptive strike. Mr. Chen nodded for me to begin. I clicked to my first slide, knowing that the next 30 minutes would determine everything. My presentation was flawless. I walked through each strategy with confidence, backed up every claim with solid data, and demonstrated clear ROI projections. The executives were engaged, asking thoughtful questions. and nodding approvingly at my responses. Halfway through, I could see Maris growing agitated. Her planned interruptions weren't working because my presentation was too well prepared. Every time she tried to raise a question, I had the answer ready with supporting documentation. As I reached my conclusion, the room was buzzing with excitement. The marketing director leaned forward. "This is exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need," she said. "When can we implement these strategies?" But Maris wasn't finished. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said, her voice shaking with barely controlled anger, "but I have serious concerns about these recommendations." The room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at her, and I could see confusion in their faces. Her timing was inappropriate, her tone unprofessional. She was about to make a fatal mistake, and I was ready for it. "These strategies are too risky," Maris continued, her voice getting louder. "Leora has a history of presenting flawed data. How can we trust these projections?" She was losing control, letting her desperation show. I remained calm, reaching for my folder of documentation. "I appreciate your concerns, Maris. In fact, I've prepared a detailed analysis of your feedback patterns." I pulled out a thick stack of papers. "This shows every time you've questioned my work over the past 6 months." The room was dead silent as I distributed copies to the executives. As you can see, in every case where Maris raised concerns, subsequent investigation proved my analysis was correct. However, there are several instances where her interference caused delays and confusion. Gasps echoed around the room as people scanned the documents. The evidence was overwhelming. Dates, times, witnesses, and outcomes. It showed a clear pattern of sabotage disguised as quality control. Maris's face went white. This is a personal attack," she stammered, but the damage was done. Everyone could see the truth laid out in black and white. Her credibility was destroyed, and mine was restored in spectacular fashion. The aftermath was swift and decisive. Mr. Chen called for a brief recess, during which the executives huddled in urgent discussion. When they returned, their expressions were serious but supportive toward me. "Leora, your presentation was excellent," the marketing director announced. "We'll be implementing these strategies immediately." The room erupted in applause, and I felt a wave of vindication wash over me. But the real victory came next. Mr. Chen addressed the elephant in the room. "We'll be conducting a thorough investigation into the workplace dynamics that have been brought to our attention today. Anyone with relevant information should contact HR immediately." My colleagues surrounded me after the meeting, offering congratulations and support. Several whispered that they were ready to share their own experiences with Maris. The invisible alliance was finally becoming visible and vocal. Maris slipped out of the room without speaking to anyone. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by the hunted look of someone who knew their time was up. I felt a mix of triumph and sadness. This could have all been avoided if she'd chosen collaboration over sabotage. Maris's desperation became obvious over the next few days. She started a whisper campaign, trying to convince people that I'd orchestrated some kind of conspiracy against her. She claimed I was manipulative and vindictive, turning victim into villain. But her credibility was shot. The evidence I'd presented was too comprehensive, too well documented to dismiss. More importantly, other victims were coming forward with their own stories, creating a pattern too clear to ignore. During lunch, I overheard her talking frantically on her phone. "It's all lies," she was saying. "She's turned everyone against me." Her voice was shrill, desperate. The confident manipulator was gone, replaced by someone who could no longer control the narrative. My colleagues rallied around me in ways I'd never expected. People who'd been neutral before were now openly supportive. They shared their own experiences with Maris's behavior, creating a chorus of voices that couldn't be silenced. The tide had completely turned. Maris was isolated, her allies abandoning ship as the truth became undeniable. Justice was finally being served, but I took no pleasure in watching someone's career implode, even someone who tried to destroy mine. I decided to organize a team celebration for the successful project approval. It wasn't about gloating over Maris's downfall. It was about recognizing everyone's contributions and rebuilding team morale after months of toxic behavior. The celebration was held in the main conference room, with catered lunch, and a presentation acknowledging each team member's role in our success. I made sure to highlight specific contributions, showing how collaboration led to better outcomes than competition. Maris arrived late, looking haggard and defensive. She tried to insert herself into conversations, but people politely moved away. Her isolation was complete and painful to watch, even for someone who'd caused me so much pain. During my speech, I focused on positive themes: teamwork, integrity, and mutual support. I didn't mention Maris by name, but everyone understood the subtext. This was what a healthy workplace could look like when toxic behavior was eliminated. The celebration was a success, with genuine smiles and laughter filling the room. For the first time in months, the team felt united and optimistic. Maris left early, and no one seemed to notice her departure. The HR investigation concluded with swift action. Maris was called into a meeting with HR and senior management on a Wednesday morning. She emerged an hour later, carrying a box of her personal belongings and escorted by security. The news spread quickly through the office. The official statement mentioned violations of company policy regarding workplace conduct and termination of employment effective immediately. No one was surprised, but seeing it happen was still shocking. I felt a complex mix of emotions. Relief that the toxic behavior was finally addressed, sadness that it had come to this, and worry about how this would affect the rest of the team. Change is always difficult, even positive change. My colleagues seemed lighter, more relaxed. Conversations became more open, collaboration increased, and the general atmosphere improved dramatically. It was like a dark cloud had been lifted from our department. That evening, Tamsin called to congratulate me. "You did it," she said proudly. "You stood up to a bully and won." But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like surviving and helping others survive too. With the toxic environment eliminated, I threw myself into my remaining projects with renewed energy. My last few weeks at the company were the most productive and satisfying I'd ever experienced. Without constant sabotage and undermining, I could finally show my true capabilities. The Henderson Court position was everything I'd hoped for and more. Sarah Kim introduced me to the team via video call, and I was excited by their enthusiasm and collaborative spirit. This was the fresh start I needed. My current colleagues were sad to see me go, but understood my decision. Several mentioned that they wished they'd spoken up sooner about Maris's behavior. I assured them that standing up to workplace toxicity was everyone's responsibility, and it was never too late to start. The marketing director pulled me aside during my last week. "I want you to know that your courage in addressing this situation has changed our entire company culture," she said. "We're implementing new policies to prevent this from happening again." I felt proud that my ordeal had led to positive changes that would protect future employees. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from personal success, but from making things better for others. On my last day, an unexpected visitor appeared at my desk. Maris stood there, looking smaller somehow, her usual confidence completely gone. She asked if we could talk privately. We met in the empty break room, the same place where she'd once whispered poison about my capabilities. Now she looked broken, defeated. "I want to apologize," she said quietly. "I know what I did was wrong." I listened as she explained her insecurities, her fear of being replaced, her competitive nature that had turned toxic. She admitted to sabotaging not just me but several other colleagues over the years. Her confession was painful to hear. "I was threatened by your talent," she continued. "Instead of trying to learn from you or collaborate, I tried to tear you down. It was cowardly and cruel." Her remorse seemed genuine, but it couldn't undo the damage she'd caused. I accepted her apology but made it clear that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. "I hope you get the help you need," I told her. "And I hope you never put anyone else through what you put me through." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and left without another word. 6 months later, I stood in my new corner office at Henderson Corp, preparing for a major presentation to potential clients. The view from my window showed the city skyline, and I marveled at how much my life had changed. My team at Henderson Corp was everything I'd dreamed of: collaborative, supportive, and innovative. We'd already implemented 3 successful campaigns based on the strategies I'd developed, exceeding all projected outcomes. My reputation as a marketing strategist was growing industry-wide. The presentation went perfectly. Our clients were impressed by our results and signed a multi-million-dollar contract extension. As we celebrated afterward, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The betrayal that had seemed like the end of my career had actually been the beginning of something much better. I'd learned to document everything, stand up for myself, and build alliances with like-minded colleagues. Most importantly, I'd learned that my worth wasn't determined by someone else's opinion. My phone buzzed with a text from Tamsin. "Saw the news about your promotion to VP. So proud of you." I smiled, remembering her words from that coffee shop months ago. "You're not a victim, you're a fighter." She'd been right. I was a fighter, and I'd won not through revenge, but through resilience, integrity, and refusing to let someone else's toxicity define my story.